you have, okay, lawyers, they read books and then they digest that and then they regurgitate it in an exam, and everybody thinks that they're intelligent. That is not intelligence. That is just plagiarism. And I've met an awful lot of lawyers and doctors and, you name it, consultants who really didn't have a modicum of um, plain old fashioned common sense. Common sense. And sense being the operative word. Um, when you read Bindler and Grindler, I read them in my psychology. I can't remember, I never remember their names though, I'm useless like that. But he talks about the six senses, and we, from an early age, we choose to focus everything through one sense. And depending on how the eyes move, left and right, up and down, you can tell what sense somebody is operating in. So that would be their modum operandi, modum operandum, or whatever it is in Latin. Anyway, so basically they focus, everything comes into them as a little baby through one sense. Call it the visual sense. So there are 5 senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, and olfactory. 5 senses. So some people have a 6th sense, which is a melange of all of those senses, which gives them a higher sense. Anyway, let's go back to the normal senses. Visual, which is the eyes; auditory, ears; olfactory is the nose, the sense of smell; and gustatory is the sense of taste. And people actually use one of those senses to bring in all the information into their psyche through their senses, so that the sensory input. So they bring it in through, let's say I'm visual, so the eyes first, then it's filtered through to the other senses, and then they get a thought, they get a feeling or an intuition about the outside world, what is out there, as opposed to in here, inside of themselves. And then that's how they operate. So if you're dealing with a young child, for example, and if you do this NLP on that child, you can actually help the child dramatically by finding out what their how they focus. So if they focus through their auditory sense, then you would use predicates of speech in that sense, so that everything will go in much more quickly into their psyche, because you're speaking their language. It's a bit like couples. You might have a visual sensory person, and then you have a kinesthetic. So the woman is kinesthetic. She loves to run up to him and hug him when he comes through the door. The visual person wants to see her first. He wants to gaze upon her because he's visual. Then at some point he'll hug her. But she wants to hug him straight away, and all he can see behind her is the mess, because kinesthetic people are not very tidy. Once they're happy, they're comfortable in a property, they don't see the mess. Whereas he's visual, so the first thing he will see is the mess behind her. So then they have a row. She wants to hug him. She doesn't see all the mess because it's fine with her. He's visual, he doesn't like the mess. So then they clash. So people like that come to me, and I help them to understand their sensory language, so that the visual person will understand the kinesthetics language, and vice versa. So then they come to a happy place where they will respect the other's sensory language. And then the rows stop and they get on better.